Hello and warm regards from Next IAS team. Welcome to another episode of Daily News Analysis. Today is 21st August. Let's see the important news that we are going to discuss today. The first topic is about the bill to remove Prime Minister, Chief Minister and Ministers. Second topic is about the banning of real money gaming. Third topic is about Agni-5 Ballistic Missile. Fourth topic is National Space Law. And in the decoded section, we are going to discuss about the ease of doing business in India. So let's start with the first topic. The first topic is bills to remove Prime Minister, Chief Ministers and Ministers. Yes, the Constitutional Amendment Bill 130 has been introduced by the Honorable Home Minister, which is going to regulate the removal of Prime Minister, Chief Minister and Ministers if they have been arrested for more than 30 days. Now, the backdrop is that the government introduced bills to sack arrested ministers. This topic is relevant from GS paper 2 in the Parliament and State Legislatures topic, and it is a part of the representatives or elected representatives of our country. Now, what is the news here? The government in Lok Sabha has introduced 3 bills that are going to seek the removal of central and state ministers who are facing allegations of corruption or serious offences that have been detained for at least 30 days consecutively. The bill is now referred to Joint Committee after a voice vote. Now, what are the 3 bills that have been introduced? The first bill is Constitution 130th Amendment Bill of 2025, then Government of Union Territories Amendment Bill 2025, then Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Amendment Bill 2025. Now, what are the conditions here? The condition is that the minister, either a chief minister, prime minister or any other center or state minister is arrested and detained for 30 consecutive days under serious criminal charges. Now, these serious criminal charges include any criminal charges which is having a punishment of more than 5 years. Now, they are facing charges of offensible, punishable with imprisonment up to 5 years or more. That is the basic condition on which this bill or this act is going to apply. Second is that the removal authority will be President in the case of Prime Minister and Union Ministers, Governor in the case of CM and State Ministers, and Lieutenant Governor for Ministers in Union Territories. Now, next thing is, what are the 3 bills that we have already discussed? So, these are the 3 bills that are introduced. Now, they are going to affect the provisions of the Constitution, namely as Article 75, Article 164 and Article 239AA. What are these articles? We are going to see later in the video. Now, of the Constitution, they deal with Union Council of Ministers, Council of Ministers of the State and Union Ministers of Union Territories respectively. Then, any Prime Minister, Chief Minister, Union Minister or Minister of State and UTs who are arrested and detained in custody for 30 consecutive days without obtaining bail on charges of committing an offence punishable for more than 5 years or more shall be removed from the office on the 31st day. So, there is a law regarding the criminalization of the politics. So, how we have to keep politics moral and ethical, this bill is a step in that regard. Next is the Joint Parliamentary Committee. Now, this bill has been given to the Joint Parliamentary Committee. What is the Joint Parliamentary Committee? The Joint Parliamentary Committee is an ad hoc committee of Parliament which comprises of members from both Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. Now, this committee will be chaired by an MP who will be appointed by the Speaker. This you should be knowing, because the question can be asked from you: who is going to appoint the chairman of a Joint Parliamentary Committee? Is it is it Speaker or it is Vice President? So, you have to see what the option is. Next, there is no fixed size, so it depends upon how many members the Speaker wants to appoint. Then, it is the composition will be mainly decided by the Parliament. It is a temporary body. After the task has been completed, it will be dissolved. Then, what are the powers and rules? It can collect evidence from experts, public bodies, associations or individuals. It can act suo motu or on request, and recommendations are advisory and not binding in nature. Next is the related articles to these particular amendment acts. The first article that will be affected will be Article 75, that concerns with Union Council of Ministers. Prime Minister is appointed by President and other ministers are appointed on the PM's advice. So, it is basically telling us how the Council of Ministers is going to be appointed and how the ministers are going to be removed. Ministers hold office during the pleasure of the President. Council of Ministers is collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Salaries and allowances are determined by the Parliament. So one more provision is going to be added here, which will be regarding the removal after detention for 30 days. Article 164, State Council of Ministers. CM is appointed by the governor and other ministers appointed on CM's advice. Minister hold office during the pleasure of governor. Then Council of Ministers is collectively responsible to the State Legislative Assembly. Then last article is Article 239A, that is Delhi Special Provisions for NCT. It creates a legislative assembly for Delhi NCT. Assembly can make laws on state legislative list or concurrent list except police, public order and land. So this article 239 is mainly about Delhi and the special provisions that are respected to the Delhi of NCT. Now, based upon the discussion, you can attempt this MCQ and you can post your answers in the comment box. Let's move to the second topic. The second topic that we are having is about the bill to ban the real money gaming. What is real money gaming? Real money gaming means when the people actually put their money in the form of digital assets or in the form of digital currency, and if they lose that money, their money is gone. So that is real money gaming. Now, what is the backdrop here? Recently, Lok Sabha passed a bill to ban the real money gaming because there have been instances where there has been addiction to these online games and they have resulted in financial losses to the family. From an estimate, it is estimated that around 45 crore people are engaged with this real money gaming, and every year they are losing 20,000 crore rupees in these real money gamings. So in this context, this bill has been introduced. Now, what is the bill here? What is the news here? Recently, the Lok Sabha passed the Promotion and Regulation of Online Gaming Bill 2025 by a voice vote. The bill seeks to prohibit the offering, operation, facilitation, advertisement, promotion and participation in online money games, targeting firms that offer fantasy sports and card games where users can deposit and risk money. So wherever the real money can be risked, those games have been now banned in the country, and it amounts for any offering, any operation of such a bill, any advertisement, any promotion, any participation or facilitation. So any entity which is engaged in any of these activities will be facing the government's punishment. Now, next is what are the key provisions here? First of all, ban on online money games. The bill applies to all online money gaming platforms, irrespective of whether they are games of skill or chance. Second, penalties. A jail up to 3 years and a fine up to 1 crore will be applied. Promoters or influencers, the jail can be 2 years and fine up to 50 lakhs. Then financial restrictions. Banks or financial institutions are barred from facilitating transactions for such platforms. So there is a ban, there is a regulation with respect to banks also. Advertisements. Prohibition on promotion or endorsement of any online money game. Then search and seizure. Authorized officials can search, seize and arrest without a warrant. That is important here. So without a warrant, they can go for search, they can seize and they can arrest. And it includes both things, physical as well as digital spaces. That means the office premises as well as their apps or any other digital platform that they are having. All that can be seized, searched and can be taken by the government. Authority creation. A central authority to regulate, recognize and promote esports, social and educational games and support game development will be created. Now, what is the definition here? The online money game has been defined as game played with deposit or stakes for monetary return. So any game which is played with the deposits for monetary gains or monetary returns will be considered as online money game. The next is need for regulation. The absence of a clear and enabling legal framework has hindered the structured growth of gaming sector. According to the report, more than 155 million Indians are engaged with real money gaming sub-segments including fantasy sports, rummy, poker and other transaction-based games in 2024. On an average, around 110 million people played these games daily. So there is a problem of addiction, there is a problem of gambling here with these games. So that's why the government has taken up this step. Now, responsible gaming practices require urgent policy interventions and support mechanism. The government aims to distinguish and promote esports as a creative and recreational industry rather than making it an addictive industry. So, for example, the gambling is not permitted in the country. In this same manner, online gambling has also been now discontinued or now has been banned. Now, what is the significance of the bill? First of all, social protection. It addresses the problems of addiction, financial ruin, and suicide linked with the real money games, safeguarding youth and vulnerable groups. Secondly, public health and order. It responds to WHO's concerns, curbs psychological harm while ensuring responsible use of digital technologies. Psychological harms means that when you are losing financially or you are losing money, that those harms can be checked. Then economic safeguard, it will prevent money laundering and fraud, protect the household savings, bar banks, financial institutions from enabling such transaction. Positive gaming, it will encourage esports, educational games, and social gaming, which will be a recreational exercise rather than getting addicted to it. Legal and governance clarity, provide for the appointment of an authority for coordinated policy support, strategic development, and regulatory oversight of the sector. Then center is empowered to notify an authority consisting of a chairperson to assist it in implementation of the act. Strategic value, protects financial integrity, national security, and promotes legitimate gaming industries like esports and educational games. Then what are the challenges? Lack of prior public consultation. The bill was introduced without a draft release. So there's one concern that there should have been public consultation, there should have been a draft bill so that the public views can also be taken. The real money gaming industry may mount a constitutional challenge citing restrictions on trade and legislative competence. Then economic impact, that will also be there. The online real money gaming industry is projected to reach 9 billion by 2029, valued at 2 lakh crores, employing 2 lakh plus individuals. The sector pays 20,000 crores in taxes annually and attracts 25,000 crore FDI in 2022. A ban may cause 15,000 to 20,000 crores of revenue loss, but government prioritizes health and security over the GST case. So these are the various concerns with respect to this particular act. Now you are in a position to attempt this MCQ, attempt the MCQ and post your answers in the comment box. And let's move. The third topic is Agni-5 missile. Now the backdrop here is that India recently successfully test-fired Agni-5 ballistic missile, and this topic is relevant from GS paper 3 in the defense sector. What's the news? The news is that India has successfully test-fired the intermediate range ballistic missile, or we call it IRBM, Agni-5 from integrated test range at Chandipur in Odisha. This is important. You should be knowing the location. As per Ministry of Defence, the launch validation, all operational and technical parameters was conducted under the aegis of Strategic Forces Command. The missile tested recently was a variant of Agni-5, India's indigenously developed intercontinental ballistic missile with a range of 5,000 kilometers, and it has been designed by DRDO or Defence Research and Development Organization. Then last trial. The previous trial of Agni-5 was conducted on March 11, 2024, when DRDO successfully tested the missile equipment with multiple independently targeted re-entry vehicles. What is multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles? It means that with one launch, it can strike multiple targets. So that we mean by the multiple independent target re-entry vehicle. The next is Agni class of missiles. So the Agni series forms the backbone of India's nuclear strike capability. Agni means fire, and it is the Agni is a Sanskrit word and one of the Panch Mahabhuts. What are Panch Mahabhuts? Prithvi, that is earth; Ap, that is water; Vayu, that is air; Akash is space; and Agni is fire. So we are having the name Agni as a Sanskrit word from Panch Mahabhuts. Now this is a 3-stage missile, and the fuel or propellant used will be solid. So first of all, Agni-1. Agni-1 is a short range missile of 700 to 800 km range. Then Agni-2, it is a medium range of 22,000 plus kilometers. Then Agni-3 is intermediate range with 2,500 kilometers plus. Agni-4 is 3,500 kilometers range, and Agni-5 missile is 5,000 kilometers range. It is an intercontinental ballistic missile and surface to surface missile. That means we launch it from surface and it goes to the surface. Propulsion, it is a 3-stage solid fuel rocket. That is important. It is nuclearly capable. 1.5 ton warhead it can carry. Then range is 5,000 to 5,500 kilometers, and it will be covering a major Chinese cities like Beijing. Fire and forget system cannot be intercepted without advanced missile system. One more missile is there, Agni-5 or Agni-Prime. It is a two-stage caniterized solid propellant ballistic missile with a range of 1000 to 2000 kilometers. Then what is IGMDP? Integrated Guided Missile Development Program. This program was conceived by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the former president of country, to achieve self-reliance in missile technology. It was launched in 1983. The objective was to develop a range of strategic and tactical missiles for India's defense needs. Missile development developed under IGMDP include Prithvi short-range surface-to-surface ballistic missile, then Agni intermediate-range surface-to-surface ballistic missile, Trishul short-range low-level surface-to-air missile, Akash medium-range surface-to-air missile, Nag third-generation anti-tank guided missile. These things you should be knowing. Surface to surface means from surface it will be reaching to another surface. Surface to air means it will be targeting any objects that are in the space being launched from the surface. Then there are two kinds of missile. One is ballistic missile, one is cruise missile. What is the difference between them? The ballistic missile forms a high arc or parabolic path, and the cruise missile, it flies with Earth's atmosphere at low altitudes, guided throughout. The guided part for the ballistic missile is only at the launch part. For the cruise missile, the whole pathway or the whole track is being guided. The range, it can be short to intercontinental. Cruise missiles, it is usually short to medium range. Then speed. The ballistic missiles are extremely fast. They can reach a speed of Mach 20 plus. Cruise missiles are slower compared to the ballistic missiles, subsonic, supersonic, or they can be hypersonic also. Guidance. The ballistic missiles are guided only during the initial phase, later follows gravity and momentum, whereas cruise missiles are guided throughout by the GPS and through terrain mapping or through radars. Then detectability. Ballistic missiles are easy to detect due to high trajectory. Cruise missiles are hard to detect due to low altitude terrain hugging flight. Then examples, if we talk about India, Agni series and Prithvi series are ballistic missiles. Cruise missiles include BrahMos and Nirbhay. Now with this, you can attempt this MCQ and you can post your answers in the comment box. Now the fourth topic is about the national space law. The backdrop is that underdeveloped legal framework for space sector in India is affecting India's space innovation. Now this is relevant from GS paper 3 in the space part. Let's see what's the news all about. Now, the backdrop here is that after the success mission of Chandrayaan-3 soft landing near the lunar south pole and upcoming missions like Gaganyaan, the future Chandrayaan projects, and the proposed Bharat Antariksha Station, India's space program is poised for multiple historic milestones. However, one crucial element remains underdeveloped: the legal framework. We are not having a space law till now. The exploration, innovation, and commercial use of outer space accelerates a robust legal architecture. That means a proper law for the space regulation should be there. It will serve as a launchpad for ensuring sustainability, equity, and safety. Without it, India's space ambition risks advancing without a clear navigational guide. So, we need a space program so that it can provide us a clear guidance regarding our future prospects in the space. Now, why we need that space program? Because first of all, judicial limitations. In absence of a specific space legislature or specific space law, the Indian courts cannot effectively handle the space-related disputes. Second, private sector entry. With private players entering space activities, the absence of clear domestic laws create uncertainty and lack of accountability. So, it will affect in both ways. First of all, the private sector can misuse of certain loopholes. Secondly, there can be uncertainty which can demotivate the private sector to come into the space sector. Third is integration with the global treaties. India has already signed the UN Space Treaty, and the domestic laws are needed to be aligned with India's activity with international treaties and strengthen its global space power status. So, we need a law. Next, liability issue. India faced international liability concerns after its 2019 anti-satellite test created orbital debris. No domestic framework exists to handle compensation for or negotiations. Then space mining and commercialization. Unlike USA, India lacks laws to regulate space mining and commercial exploration of the space resources. So we need one space law. Then space security and military needs. Growing threats like anti-satellite weapons and space warfare highlight the need for legislature to protect Indian assets and national security. The next is IP and data protection. There is no clear framework regarding the IPR in the space technology, data protection, and remote sensing, putting India at a disadvantage. Private sector liability. India must clarify rules for private companies' liability under international treaties like Liability Convention of 1972. Then remote sensing regulation. Despite advanced capabilities, India lacks a comprehensive legal framework for regulating law use, commercialization, and IPR. Then global competitiveness. Absence of law hinders India's ability to compete with the space leaders like USA, Russia, and China. Then need for in-space and legal backing. Though in-space was introduced in 2020, it regulates and promotes private participation. Comprehensive legislation is still required to back its functioning. So we need to make this in-space body as a statutory body so that it has a legal backing also, and it will give more authenticity to its works. Then policy versus implementation gap. Announcements on private participation remains ineffective without a proper legal backing. Then global benchmark. Around 15 countries have nearly 40 national legislatures. India is lagging despite being a leading space-faring nation. Then what are going to be benefits? The benefits include predictability, legal clarity, and stability for government and private players, build investor confidence and encourage innovation in the space startups. It will operationalize India's international commitments, outer space treaty obligations that India is having into the domestic law. Then it will enable affordable insurance framework to cover high value space assets. It will ensure safety standards, accident investigations, and space debris management. Then protects international property rights while fostering collaboration between government, academia, and industry. It will create an independent appellate body to avoid conflicts of interest in the regulatory decisions. The next is what is the current international framework that we are having. See, when Russia and USA were becoming superpowers after World War II, they were in a space race also. There was a satellite launch. There was the first person who went to space. Then an American went to the moon. So there was a kind of space race. In that context, a committee on the peaceful use of outer space, or COPUOS, was formed. This COPUOS has regulated various treaties. For example, Outer Space Treaty, Rescue Agreement, Liability Convention, Registration Convention, and Moon Agreement. And this is a UN body. This Outer Space Treaty, for example, ensures space benefits to all nations, bans national appropriation for weapons of mass destruction, holds states responsible for governmental and private activities, and treats astronauts as envoys of mankind. The rescue agreements requires assistance of astronauts in distress, recovery of space objects outside the launching state. The Liability Convention makes launching states internationally liable for damages caused by their space objects in Earth, in airspace, or in outer space. Then Registration Convention, it obligates states to register launch space objects with UN for transparency. Then Moon Agreement declares moon and celestial bodies the common heritage of mankind, prohibits ownership claims, and mandates peaceful use and UN notification of installations. So all these are the frameworks under which the international space law is being governed. Along with this, there are 5 declarations and principles to guide outer space activities. This includes 1962 Declaration of Legal Principles, 1982 Principle on Direct Television Broadcasting, the 1986 Principle on Remote Sensing, 1992 Principles on Nuclear Power Sources in Space, then 1996 Space Benefit Declaration, which stresses equitable sharing with developing nations. Now, one important treaty is there, the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, that you should be remembering, and the basic provisions include that it declared the outer space the promise for all mankind. It prohibits national appropriation of this outer space and places responsibility on the states for activities of both government as well as private entities. Now, the problem is that the treaty is not self-executing. The nations must enact domestic legislations to enforce them. Secondly, many countries have already have national space laws, whereas India is lacking on that part. Nations like US, Luxembourg, Japan are having their national space laws. Then without national law, state risk lagging behind in global commercial space ecosystem. That's why we need a national space law. Then framework for space regulation and promotion in India. So what we are having? First of all, we have an Indian Space Policy of 2023. Its vision is to enhance India's space capabilities, increase private participation, and make India a global space hub. The role of ISRO and SIL in space have been defined. ISRO will focus on research and development and will become an enabler of the capacity building in the space sector. Then NSIL, New Space India Limited. It is a commercial arm of ISRO and is responsible for production, commercialization, and marketing of space products, launch space, and satellites. Third one is InSpace, Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. Now, it acts as a regulator and promoter for private sector participation. It grants authorization, ensures level playing field, and facilitates industry entry. Then, one we are having is Catalog of Standards 2023. It will ensure safety of space operations. Then, InSpace Norms, Procedures, and Guidelines 2024. It provides authorization framework for private entities. Now, something about InSpace. The InSpace, the full form is Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. It is an autonomous nodal agency under Department of Space, Government of India, created in 2020. The key functions include authorization and regulation, promotion, level playing field, and policy implementation. Under authorization, what is it going to be included? It will act as a regulator to authorize and oversee the space activities of non-governmental entities like private companies, startups, and academia. Then promotion. It will promote private sector participation in India's space sector by facilitating access to ISRO's infrastructure, expertise, and facilities. Level playing field. It will ensure fair opportunities for private players alongside the government entities. Then policy implementation. It will implement the Indian Space Policy 2023 by granting approvals for launches, satellite, ground stations, and other space-related operations. Then lastly, capacity building. It will encourage collaboration between government, academia, industry to build strong space ecosystem. Then what is the industry is demanding? The industry is demanding a clear statutory authority in terms of InSpace. Then transparent licensing rules and streamlined ministry approvals are also required. Then clear FDI rules are required. Then transparency, liability, and insurance framework is also required by the industry that is demanding them. Now, based upon the discussion, attempt this MCQ and post your answers in the comment box. Last, we move to the decoded part, that is the ease of doing business. Now, what is the backdrop here? There is a need for economic reform for ease of doing business in the country. This topic is relevant from GS paper 3 in the Indian economy. And the basic context can be the tariffs that are being imposed on India, the problem of unemployment that we are facing, and the problem of growth declination that we are facing. In this context, we need to focus upon ease of doing business so that the business activity can be improved in the country. Now, let's see what is the news here. About the news, Prime Minister in his Independence Day address had highlighted the urgent need for tax and regulatory reforms. However, despite India's projected growth, it remains unattractive to multinationals compared to China and others. For Indian companies, it is easier to import almost all products than to make them in India. At the start of this century, the recurrent theme was that the 21st century belongs to India and China. Sadly, we missed the bus. And how we missed the bus? Let's see. If we compare India and China between 2001 and 2024, let's see that. GDP of China was 1.3 trillion. GDP of China was 1.83 trillion, while GDP of India was 473.6 billion. Now, in 2024, the GDP of China is 18.74 trillion, whereas India's GDP is only 3.91 trillion. So, if we see the GDP ratio of India, the GDP of India to China has actually increased. The ratio has actually increased. It was 2 times. China's GDP was 2 times that of India. Now it is 4.8 times that of India. Then if we talk about Fortune 500 firms, China was having 11 firms in 500. Now it is having 135 firms. Whereas for India, it was only 1 firm in 2001. Now it is 9 firms that are in Fortune 500. So in every context, India has lagged behind China in these 2 decades. India lags behind China in both economic size and global corporate presence, highlighting the urgent need to prioritize Make in India. Let's see what are the challenges that we are facing. First of all, ease of starting. If we talk about the business in India, there are three things. One is ease of starting, second is ease of running, and third one is ease of closing. In the ease of starting, the problems that the corporates are facing, that are setting up industries, especially SMEs, is a complex and time consuming, and the bulk of the responsibilities on the states and their regulatory laws. Single window clearances are often only on paper, they are not practically applicable. GST registration is itself problematic and is rent seeking. A lot of corruption is being seen there. No comprehensive study of the number of steps involved in setting up different categories of industries, what the hurdles and actual costs are, and the time taken. Then inadequate data of comparison for steps, time, and cost involved in setting up industry units in China, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Thailand with India. So we do not have that data also. Then most of the state governments focus disproportionately on large investment. Small investments are neglected. Second is ease of running. What problems we are facing? First of all, over-regularization is there. MSMEs face 57 reoccurring compliances and 17 approvals from 18 authorities just in environment, health and safety sector. Then 75% of the regulations are punishable with imprisonment. Then second is complex and unpredictable tax system. GST remains highly complex with authorities holding wide discretionary powers such as abruptly freezing bank accounts, cancelling registrations, and reopening assessment. These provisions often create uncertainty and can bring business operations to a sudden halt, instilling fear among the enterprises. Then aggressive tax demand. For last 5 years have created a fear of doing business in the country. Almost every notice is subject to litigation right up to Supreme Court, often involving huge legal cost for the companies. So these are the problems with respect to the running or operations of a entity or a firm in the country. Last one is ease of closing. Whenever a firm is not working properly, is not profitable, then we have to close down that firm. And the money, if it is get early from by closing down that firm, that can be reinvested. So there is problem in closing down the firms also. The business closure face severe procedural and legal hurdles. Manufacturing closures are especially complex due to disposal of land, building, and machinery. The need for clear, simple exit path is required in the country. So at last, we can conclude that we are at a fork of the road. Either we choose to complete a new path that encourages enterprises, continue with our old methods that have hobbled India's growth. The three components of ease of doing business must be re-examined not only by bureaucracy alone, but through intensive consultation and participation with representatives from industry. A clear plan followed by time-bound execution is key. India cannot afford to miss the bus again and again. On basis of this, you can attempt this mains answer and you can post it in the comment box. With this, we conclude for the day. Thank you very much.